Hello and welcome to the news on Clearview Television. We are reaching you live from Nigeria's capital city, Abuja. In the news, more accolades pouring for Supreme Court following landmark ruling on Zamfara APC. 24 million Nigerians at risk of mental illness following deteriorating and dismal number of health institutions and professionals. And 3 Frenchmen sentenced to death by an Iraqi court after being found guilty of joining the Islamic State IS militant group. More accolades have continued. Meanwhile, my name is Inten. Welcome to the news. More accolades have continued to pour in for the Supreme Court over its ruling on Zamfara All Progressives Congress, the APC. The latest is from the chairman of Anambra State chapter of the People's Democratic Party, PDP Chief Ndubuisi Nwobu, who also congratulated the PDP for adding Zamfara to the list of states it controls as a result of the Supreme Court order. Nwobu, in a statement made available to newsmen in Abuja soon after the decision of the Supreme Court on the Zamfara APC debacle was made known, said that the verdict signified a gradual return of rule of law in the democratic process. According to him, the era of rule of might in the electoral process may be gradually coming to an end, as the Supreme Court has now shown that no party, no matter how highly connected, will benefit any longer from crass abuse of the law. Nwobu noted that with the development, it is now obvious that the electoral process in Nigeria can grow and become better with strict observation of the law. He also lauded the Zamfara State chapter of the PDP for tenaciously pursuing the matter at the apex court and not resorting to self-help, just as he lauded the APC for subjecting itself to the judicial process. He stated that with the development, it is obvious that justice will always be served, though the wheel of justice grinds slowly. Meanwhile, the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) has released the timetable for the presentation of certificates to those it declared winners in Zamfara State. This followed the Supreme Court's judgment delivered in Abuja on the 2019 governorship, national and state assembly elections held in that state. The Supreme Court on Friday ruled that the All Progressives Congress (APC) did not hold valid primaries as required by law, and therefore invalidated the participation of the party in the last governorship, National Assembly and State Assembly elections in that state. Clearview TV's Anita Patrick completes the story.
The Electoral Commission had issued the timetable and schedule of activities for the 2019 general elections on 9th January 2018, over 1 year in advance. Among other activities, the conduct of party primaries was scheduled to take place between 18th August and 7th October 2018. Unfortunately, the APC did not conduct its primaries in Zamfara State within the stipulated time, and the Commission duly informed the party that it would not be in a position to present candidates for elections in the state. Subsequently, various interested parties, including the APC itself, approached the court over the decision of the Commission. Just before the election, the subsisting court judgment at the time ordered the Commission to include the APC on the ballot for the governorship, National Assembly and State Assembly elections, which the Commission complied with.
The Supreme Court, having determined that the APC did not conduct valid primaries, said that the votes cast for the party in all the elections in question were wasted, and ordered the Commission to recognize the runners-up as the winners. This judgment affects the positions of governor and deputy governor, the 3 senatorial, 7 federal, and 24 state assembly constituencies. In compliance with the Supreme Court judgment, the Commission has now determined the winners of the elections in Zamfara State as follows: Governorship, Governor Bello Mohammed Matawalle, PDP. Deputy Governor Mahdi Aliu Gusau, PDP.
Yakubu seized the opportunity to draw the attention of all stakeholders, but particularly political parties, to the implications of the Supreme Court judgment on the Zamfara matter, reminding them that the Commission has since 9th April 2019 issued a timetable and schedule of activities for the 2019 Bayelsa and Kogi governorship elections, by which party primaries are scheduled to hold between the 2nd and 29th August 2019. He appealed to political parties intending to field candidates in the elections to adhere strictly to these and other timelines in the timetable and schedule of activities.
I wish to seize this opportunity to draw the attention of all stakeholders, but particularly the political parties, to the implications of the Supreme Court judgment on the Zamfara matter. It is clear that properly conducted party primaries are cardinal to the proper internal functioning of political parties, the electoral process, and our democratic system in general. Therefore, political parties must take very seriously the conduct of primaries according to all extant rules, including the monitoring processes by INEC, to avoid a repeat of the Zamfara experience.
The Commission, however, will be issuing certificates of return to the new winners as follows: Governor and Deputy Governor-elects, Senators-elects, and members of the House of Representatives-elects will receive their certificates on Monday 27th May 2019 at the Commission's Electoral Institute at 2 p.m., while members of the State House of Assembly-elects will receive their certificates from the Resident Electoral Commissioner for Zamfara State at the INEC State Office in Gusau on Friday 31st May 2019 at 10 a.m. Annie T. Patrick, reporting for Clearview Television.
We'll bring you that report as soon as it's ready. Moving on, President Muhammadu Buhari on Saturday commissioned some legacy projects embarked upon by the outgoing Senator Ibikunle Amosun-led administration in Abeokuta, the Ogun State capital. The projects included the multi-billion naira judiciary complex, 10,000 capacity amphitheater, Kemta Ituku Ajiri International Market, Ogun State Television or GTV, ultra-modern digital studio, and a 250-bed multi-specialist tertiary hospital, which was near completion. Impressed by the achievements, Buhari commended Amosun, saying the governor's performance confirmed that he prepared very well for governance. He praised the present system at the Senate, where seats are not based on population. The president's visit was the second to the state within the last 3 months. It was in Abeokuta in February for his presidential campaign. Amosun explained that his government constructed the multi-billion-naira judiciary complex to replace the high courts, which edifices were constructed 4 years ago. Conspicuously absent are the ceremonies which held at different locations where the governor-elect Prince Dakpo Abiodun, Segun Oshoba, and other chieftains of the All Progressives Congress, the APC. However, Governor Sakinwumi Ambode of Lagos State, Kayode Fayemi of Ekiti, and Rotimi Akeredolu of Ondo were among dignitaries that graced the occasion. The Kaduna State Governorship Election Petitions Tribunal has adjourned till Tuesday, May 27, 2019 for ruling on the motion for recount of ballot papers brought before it by the governorship candidate of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, Alhaji Isa Muhammad Ashiru. Chairman of the tribunal, Ibrahim M. Bako, adjourned the sitting after a debate for and against the recount motion filed by PDP's governorship candidate. Counsel stood Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, Governor Nasir El-Rufai, and the All Progressives Congress, ABC, Aliyu Umar, SAN, Abdul Hakim Mustafa, and Lawal Bawa argued against the recount motion at the resuming of the pre-trial on Saturday. The petitioners, Ashiru and PDP, on Tuesday, May 14, filed a motion seeking the tribunal to order the recount of the entire ballot in the March 9 governorship poll in the state. Justice Bako had adjourned to Saturday, May 25, 2019 to allow the three respondents in the PDP petition, Governor-elect El-Rufai, APC and INEC, and their responses. Also at the resumed hearing in the motion, which is part of the pre-hearing sitting, the PDP applied to amend its earlier application for the recount of the entire ballot to 12 local government areas, mostly in the central and northern parts of the state. Governor Darius Ishaku of Taraba State has declared his assets ahead of his second term inauguration slated for May 29. The official assets declaration, according to a statement by his senior special assistant on media and publicity, Baladan Abu, was in compliance with the requirements for all public office holders in the Nigerian Constitution. The statement said the documents were submitted to the Code of Conduct Bureau on Friday, May 24, 2019. It further stated that Governor Ishaku declared his assets in fulfillment of the requirements of the Nigerian Constitution and the Code of Conduct for public officers. And meanwhile, the total worth of the governor's worth was not enshrined in the statement, which was made available to journalists in Jalingo, the Taraba State capital. The Nigerian Customs Service, the NCS, has commenced electronic online auction of contrabands, including exotic cars of different brands seized from smugglers in the Federal Operations Unit, Zone C, Owerri. This is also as the command impounded smuggled bags of rice hidden in plastic water tanks and silos. Controller of Federal Operations Unit F4U, Zone C, Owerri, Controller Kayode Olushimeri, who spoke while conducting newsmen round the latest seizures by his unit in Owerri and Benin City, said that the auction of vehicles and goods will take place every Monday and Wednesday for a period of 1 month. According to him, interested members of the public can log into the internet using the web address app.trade.ng/e-auction and select any of the items listed on the purchase list. The controller said that among items to be auctioned electronically were Rolls-Royce cars, Mercedes-Benz and Toyota cars and other vehicles of different makes and other seized goods. He said that the recourse to online sales of impounded goods is to make the process as transparent as possible. Some of the latest seizures, according to Olusimire, were 8 exotic cars with duty-paid value of 161 million naira, over 1,057 bags of rice with duty-paid value of 31 million, and spices with foreign names. Some of the smuggled rice, he said, were neatly concealed in 2 silos belonging to a major Nigerian company and plastic tanks. Olusemire decried the ingenuity of smugglers, adding that customs will always be ahead of them. The management of the BEDC Electricity PLC said, that's Benin Electricity Distribution Company, said that it has so far lost 39 transformers to vandals in Edo State. Funke Oshibodu, managing director of the company, who gave the hint at a press conference in Benin City, said that several numbers of transformers were also lost in Delta State. Oshibodu, who said the 2 states recorded the highest number of vandalism of facilities, added that the security operatives have commenced investigations into the incidents. She also disclosed that 49 communities had since been connected to the national grid, while 9 communities were also about to be connected. She listed some of the communities where electricity was restored to after several years of blackout, to include Erinijian, Ikwelolo, Ikogosi, as well as 3 communities connected to Ilawe Aramoko feeder. You're watching the news coming to you on Clearview Television. We'll take a break, and when we come back, there will be more news. Please stay with us. Welcome back. No fewer than 137 pipeline points were vandalized in February, which represents a 40% drop when compared to the reported incident in January, according to the National Petroleum Corporation, the NNPC. The corporation made the fact known in its monthly financial and operations report released in Abuja on Sunday. It said the breakdown of the report indicated that in February 2019, a total of 137 pipeline points were vandalized, which translated to 40% drop from the 230 points vandalized in January of 2019. It noted that Mosimi Ibadan Petroleum Product Pipeline accounted for 72% of breaks, while Kaduna, Port Harcourt, Warri, and Gombe lines made up the remaining 28%. The report attributed the drop in the line break to efforts by NNPC, the local communities, and other stakeholders to reduce and eventually eliminate pipeline vandalism. On crude oil export sales, it said that the NNPC posted a total export sale of crude oil and gas of $490 million in February, which was 32.45% higher than the previous month's sale. It added that crude oil export sales contributed $350.29 million of the dollars transactions, compared with $240.23 million contribution in the previous month. The report, which is the 43rd edition, explained that gas export sales amounted to $139.74 million in the month under review. It added that the February 2018 to February 2019 crude oil and gas transactions indicated that crude oil and gas worth of $5.94 billion was sold. The World Health Organization on Saturday warned that over 24 million Nigerians may suffer from various mental illnesses, a situation worsened by the dismal number of health institutions and professionals. The frightening revelation was contained in the Global Agency's 2018 report released at a workshop on health reporting during emergencies in Yola. The document observed that with the prevalence of mental disorder among Nigerians put at 12.1%, many people from the northeast may suffer one form of disorder or another. The chances of Yahaya Bello of securing a second term as Kogi State Governor brightened recently when traditional rulers, market women, youths, members of religious bodies, and other groups from Kogi Central converged on the state capital Lokoja to express their support. Governor Bello assured them of his continued efforts to make Kogi Central and the state as a whole better with each passing day, as long as he remains as the state chief executive.
Hundreds of traditional rulers, old and young men and women, were present at the Kogi Central Stakeholders Meeting held in Lokoja to appraise the performance of the Yahaya Bello administration and endorse the governor for a second term in office. The monarchs who spoke said Yahaya Bello has done credibly well, governing in a way different to what had been witnessed in the past. The special advisor to the governor on local government and chieftaincy affairs, who reacted to journalists' questions, said the meeting was convened by the people to enable them present their scorecard of Governor Yahaya Bello's performance.
Performance is a time-conscious thing. You have to give somebody time to perform. You don't just ask somebody who is born today to start walking or to start crawling. He has to go through the remainder of crawling, learning to walk, learning to talk, learning to run. So he has spent the past 4 years trying to see what he can do to move Kogi forward. And I think it's just apt for us to give him the other 4 years for him to perfect what he has already started.
Governor Bello promised his unalloyed commitment to make life better for the people if re-elected in the November election.
We reminded ourselves where we were coming from and where we are now and what we intend to do in the next second term that by the grace of God we are going to return to the office. So basically we reminded ourselves of all this, and I promised them that by the grace of God I will never disappoint them if I return back in my second term. I intend to build on what we are doing now and to clear the mess that is left, complete our infrastructures after commissioning those very much that we are able to complete. And by the grace of God, in our second term, we intend to be focused on human capital development, because as such, people will mind their business and Kogi State will be more prosperous.
He advised people to ignore what he called news and misleading rumors about him being peddled by his detractors, saying all their schemes are bound to fail.
And still staying in that state, the Kogi State Police Command has arrested 25 suspected criminals from their believed hideouts. The Police Commissioner Hakeem Buhari said the continuous onslaught against kidnapping, armed banditry and other crimes in the state has continued to yield positive results through the dedication of special operatives attached to the recently launched Operation Puff Adder.
These achievements were due to proactive strategies rooted in intelligence-led policing and robust interaction with various strata of our communities, particularly in the area of information sharing, since it has become obvious that security is all stakeholders' affairs. These achievements recorded by Kogi State Police Command are in line with the objectives of the core mandate of the Operation Puff Adder, an initiative of Acting Inspector General of Police, IGP Mohammed Adamu, MPM, MNI, aimed at ridding all forms of violent crimes within our society.
Some of the arrested suspects confessed to their crimes.
As my friend bought the gun, he used the local hawker made to protect the box so that they will not steal the box. Because every election time they used to steal box in our place. So because of that, they did not steal it. So when I bought that, one of my cousin, my friend, bought the gun. We now keep, after election, we keep it for his place. As we come back, that is when we go to collect the gun. He bring the gun for us, and the bullet. That is when we take it for.
Who are you working for?
No, it's our village. They used to press on us. They will not allow our polling unit to win. That's why we protect our box.
In their village, Kemenega Opali, which I went to the security place, and I got the 7 cartridge, and that is 7 cartridge, yes. And I give to this boy. And I don't know that he's using this money after the election. After they losing the election, he dropped the cartridge and this is to my place. This is on 10th of this month. He called me. I think don't go and pass. Okay, I should go and give him the cartridge. We shall return the cartridge and the gun to his place. And I did not know that he's going to use it for robbery.
I was arrested with this vehicle in Kaduna when I went to sell my madam boy.
So what happened?
So I was arrested at Fantika during the process of marketing the vehicle.
Okay, who owns the vehicle?
My madam, my boss.
So how come you decided to sell the vehicle?
I was tempted, it was temptation. I didn't have a thought of it. It was temptation.
21 of the suspects are being held in connection with armed robbery and kidnapping, while 4 others were arrested for acts of violence at Ulara village in Dekina. Items recovered from the suspects include motor vehicles, motorcycles, household appliances, arms and ammunition. The arrests were made in Lokoja, Ganaja village, Ogugu in Olamoboro local government, Ayimba and Felele. The police commissioner promised to rid Kogi of criminal elements through the continued efforts of Operation Puff Adder.
Some traders affected by the ongoing demolition of Agboju Market in Festac Town, Lagos, have blamed market leaders for insincerity over the exercise. The bulldozers moved in on Friday and began pulling down the structures in the market, just as the traders started displaying their goods for sale. Some of the affected traders said that the issue of demolition had been ongoing between the state government and the traders. They, however, expressed shock over the exercise, which occurred before the 7-day quit notice issued them expired. Mr. Ozo Thomas, trader, said they assumed the demolition will be done on Monday after the notice elapsed on Sunday. He said, "I've given my best," says Ambode. However, some other traders said that the land where the market was situated was a buffer zone with pipelines running underneath and electric cables overhead. And tragedy struck in Apapa area of Lagos State, Southwest Nigeria on Sunday as a female officer of the Lagos State Traffic Management Agency, LASTMA, was crushed to death by a trailer. News gathered revealed that the horrible incident occurred on Sunday morning. The name of the deceased officer was given as Arogundade Remilekun, whose station base was Apapa Zone 36. It was gathered that the officer was at the back of the truck when the tragedy occurred. The trailer was said to have reversed without her knowing and crushed her to death immediately. Her remains had been evacuated from the scene of the tragedy. Her demise has brought mourning to the Lasma family. Political gladiators this Sunday gathered at the St. Gabriel's Parish, Jurumi, in a birthday Thanksgiving of Right Honorable Rotimi Amechi, Nigeria's incumbent Minister for Transportation and also a former governor of Rivers State. Clearview TV's religious correspondent Chinedu Mbatwek was there and now reports.
It was an atmosphere of celebration and thanksgiving to God Almighty as Rotimi Amechi, Nigeria's incumbent Minister of Transportation, clocked 54. Rotimi, a selfless and exemplary leader, served as a two-term governor of Rivers State and was also the Speaker of his State House of Assembly. The Thanksgiving service was held in honor of him. In an interview with Clearview Television, Rotimi and his wife thanked God for the gift of life.
What else than to thank God for life, for the family, for my friends, and for everything that God has made me to be. And I can do nothing but to continue to be grateful to God.
I just want to thank God for keeping him alive for the past 53 years, and now he's 54. And I want to pray that God is going to surprise him. And as we grow, like people will emulate his good life, his honesty and integrity. For me, it speaks excellently for him. And that's what I think he can offer humanity. And the spirit to work hard and develop more people rather than himself.
Some politicians across the nation were also in attendance and also felicitated with the minister.
He's a very courageous man. He's a single-minded. He's very generous, and he's a passionate loyalist, particularly to his friends. You know, he will go out of his way to do what he needs to do. What he needs to do to assist a friend in need at any given point in time.
He's a wonderful person. His leadership is highly, applauded. You see what he's done in the Ministry of Transport. He has revolutionized our railway system. He's really made a lot of developmental contribution to the government of our president.
Well, I knew Rotimi Amechi about 25 years ago. That's when I first met him. I know him very well as Rotimi Amechi. What I would say today on his birthday is that Amechi is an institution that some of his friends that have interacted with him is somebody who has a mindset of growth, that will impact something in people's life. That's his desire, and that's what I know is his ambition.
Well, we are celebrating the gift of God to humanity, most especially to the people of Rivers State, and whom we have loaned to Nigeria as a nation. We are celebrating somebody who epitomizes passion and courage, because he's always passionate about anything he set out to do. He accomplishes it with style. He's courageous, he's fearless, and a lot of people misunderstand him. They misunderstand his courage, and they take him for granted. And if you take him for granted, you do that at your own risk. Rotimi is a man who loves. He loves to at his own detriment. He can sacrifice anything, to make other people happy.
Amechi implored other leaders in the nation to be selfless and live an exemplary life for the younger generations. Chinedu Mbatwegu, reporting for Clearview Television.
And a little bit of entertainment now. Nollywood actor Afiz Oyetero, also known as Saka, is celebrating his 16th wedding anniversary. According to the actor, who was quite emotional with his post, he said, "The only regret I have is that I got married to her just 16 years ago and not earlier than that." He said it has been 16 years of loving and mature understanding, 16 years of sharing same vision, dreams, aspirations as a result of divine love. He said we have been moving from glorious height to glorious height. According to the message he tweeted, "Every time I consider the trend of things when I got married to this woman 16 years ago, I always regret I did not marry her earlier, much more earlier, maybe 30 years ago, 40 years or even 50 years ago. Well, better late than never," he said. He said, "I thank Allah for granting us the grace to marry this wonderful, superb and beautiful mother of our precious kids. Glory to Allah for his grace and favor." He enjoined people to celebrate with them on their 16th wedding anniversary, and we wish them a happy celebration. Moving ahead now to the foreign scene, former President Jacob Zuma says his legal battles prevented him from attending the inauguration of his successor, President Cyril Ramaphosa, in Pretoria on Saturday. Zuma was not at the all-important event at Loftus Versfeld Stadium, but his wife, Bongi Ngema Zuma, attended.
It's been a week of legal and technical arguments, including a last-minute bombshell by Zuma's legal team.
Prosecution should do it without fear or favor. So can't hide some information and leave others. That's my worry.
So do you think your team put up a good case?
Absolutely. Wonderful case.
Zuma's issued a warning to those who are calling for his day in court.
Angaze ngenze lutho nabani. Angaze ngenze lutho nankampani. Ngoba ngangingekho la kuxoxwa ngezikhali, ngangila mina ngiwu-MEC. Kodwa ngiyanamekwa nje. Angithemba ukuthi abantu abaviki ngami ezonweni zabo. Uma leli cala liqhubeka, amajaji ethi hayi njengoba abameli bambethi alingaqhubeki ngoba libukele phansi isithunzi sami namalungelo ami, njengoba seliqede ishumi leminyaka neminyaka emihlanu, mhlambe nofakazi ababekhona sebafa abanye, kodwa ngoba kufuneka aboshwe lo Zuma kuthiwa liqhubeke. Ngithi nakulona kungavela abanye obusasa.
The former president has spoken at length about the State Capture Commission of Inquiry, saying he's cautioned those who called for it.
Only ukuba bangilalela, ukuba nje bangilalela. Kubi manje wagriza kaze nje akhulume ngoZuma ukuthi uZuma ubona nje wayepeculatela into engathi shu, kodwa kwabanye ukhuluma impela subani bani ngamnika imali ka nanka amaphepha, kubani nganika imali ka nanka amaphepha, kubani ngam
Zuma is now pleading poverty, saying he can't afford to pay his legal bills.
Sale bakwethu, sale kahle.
Meanwhile, Cyril Ramaphosa on Saturday took the oath of office as President of South Africa as a colorful ceremony with a vow to enthrone a new era. Ramaphosa took the oath of office at the Loftus Versfeld Stadium in Pretoria. Correspondent Rose has more on the inauguration with agency reports.
Foreign heads of state from more than 40 countries were among 36,000 people who witnessed the event replete with pomp, military honors and an Air Force flyover at the rugby stadium in Pretoria. 2,500 police were deployed for security, while a battalion of soldiers performed ceremonial parades inside the stadium. The Air Force put a spectacular aerobatics display overhead. The 66-year-old leader was unanimously elected by Parliament to a 5-year term after his African National Congress won legislative elections on May 8, taking 230 of the 400 seats. The ANC garnered 57.5% of the votes, its weakest result since apartheid was overturned 25 years ago. Ramaphosa, a trade unionist, played a prominent role in the struggle to end white minority rule before becoming a successful businessman. He faces a Herculean task to tackle the country's many problems, from a sickly economy in which more than a quarter of the workforce is jobless, to entrenched crime and corruption, and land ownership that remains overwhelmingly in the hands of whites. Many solutions will require him to inch his way along a high wire, balancing left-wing calls for radical change with investors' demands for caution. In his inaugural address, Ramaphosa said, "A new era has dawned in our country. A brighter day is rising upon South Africa. This is a defining moment for a young nation like ours. It is a time for us to make the future that we can yearn for. I pledge here today that I will serve you to build the South Africa that we all want and deserve. Let us declare that when we gather to celebrate the 50th year of our freedom, there shall no longer be any person in this land who is unable to meet their basic needs." Looking ahead, Ramaphosa's first test will be choosing a cabinet, a task beset by rival factions within the ANC. He is expected to name his new team within days. But the choice of vice president hangs in the balance after Deputy David Mabuza said Wednesday he would defer taking his seat in parliament. Ramaphosa first took power last year when the ANC forced scandal plagued Jacob Zuma to resign after 9 years in office and vowed to root out corruption. Breaking with tradition, Ramaphosa's swearing-in ceremony was moved from the amphitheater of the Union Buildings, the seat of government, where Nelson Mandela was inaugurated as the country's first black president in 1994. All other leaders after Mandela have taken their oath at the Union Buildings, whose grounds can accommodate only up to 4,500 people. But this year, the event was moved to the 52,000-seater Loftus Versfield Rugby Stadium to allow more people to attend. All of the country's former presidents were at the ceremony except for Zuma, who on Friday attended a court hearing on corruption charges in the southeastern city of Pietermaritzburg. He told supporters afterwards he was too busy to go to Pretoria for Ramaphosa's inauguration.
And to other foreign stories, now 3 Frenchmen have been sentenced to death by an Iraqi court after being found guilty of joining the Islamic State IS militant group. The 3 men named as Kevin Gournot, Leonard Lopez and Salim Macho have 30 days to appeal. They were among 12 French citizens captured in Syria by US-backed fighters before being transferred to Iraq for trial in February. The 3 are the first IS suspects from France to be sentenced to death. France has yet to react to Sunday's court ruling in Baghdad, but when pressed on the issue in February, French President Emmanuel Macron declined to comment, saying it was a sovereign matter for Iraq. The Iraqi courts have so far tried hundreds of alleged foreign militants, but none has been executed so far. Human rights groups have heavily criticized such trials, which they say often rely on circumstantial evidence or confessions made during torture. US President Donald Trump has dismissed concerns about recent North Korean missile tests, appearing to contradict his own national security advisor. In a tweet issued shortly after his arrival in Japan on Sunday, Mr. Trump called the missiles small weapons. U.S. National Security Advisor John Bolton said on Saturday that the tests violated UN resolutions on North Korea. President Trump began a state visit to Japan on Sunday after teeing off a round of golf with Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. The two leaders ate breakfast together on Sunday before heading out to play 16 holes of golf in Chiba, outside the capital, Tokyo. Mr. Trump has said he wants to strike a deal with Japan to address what he has called a trade imbalance between the two countries. Mr. Trump wrote, "North Korea fired off some small weapons which disturbed some of my people and others, but not me." He added, "I have confidence that Chairman Kim will keep his promise to me." Not for the first time, his tweet appeared to put him at odds with Mr. Bolton and also with his host nation. Mr. Abe last week called the North Korean tests extremely regrettable. Mr. Bolton and Mr. Abe both accused North Korea of violating UN resolutions. The contrast between the president and his national security advisor followed after recent divergences on foreign policy, including how to approach the crisis in Venezuela and U.S. relations with Iran. The German government's anti-Semitism commissioner has urged Jews to avoid wearing skull caps in public. Felix Klein warned Jews against donning the kippah in parts of the country following a rise in anti-Semitism. He said his opinion on the matter had changed compared with what it used to be. Israel's President Reuven Rivlin said the recommendation amounted to an admittance that again Jews are not safe on German soil. A sharp increase in the number of anti-Semitic offenses was recorded by the German government last year. Official figures showed 1,646 hate crimes against Jews were committed in 2018, an increase of 10% on the previous year. Physical attacks against Jews in Germany also rose in the same period, with 62 violent incidents recorded, up from 37 in 2017. Speaking to the Handelsblatt newspaper, Justice Minister Katharina Barley said the increase in anti-Semitic crimes was shameful for our country. Representatives of Venezuela's government and opposition are returning to Norway's capital, Oslo, for talks on how to address the political crisis. The meeting scheduled for next week was confirmed by Norway's government, which reiterated its commitment to help find a solution. Discussions were held there earlier this month, but the opposition says there were no face-to-face meetings. Venezuela has been in political crisis for months amid a power struggle. Opposition leader Juan Guaido declared himself interim president in January, arguing that the presidency was vacant because Nicolas Maduro's re-election last year was illegitimate. But Mr. Maduro has refused to cede powers. Norway's foreign ministry released a statement saying the main political actors in Venezuela will take part in the discussions, and as it reiterated its commitment to supporting the search for an agreed upon solution to the crisis. Preliminary discussions with each side talking separately with Norwegian officials were held earlier this month. Mr. Guaido confirmed in a statement that his representatives will talk with both the Norwegian government and with representatives of the regime in the upcoming discussions. You're still watching Clearview TV News. We'll take a break, and when we come back, sports is going to be next. Please stay with us.
Are you sure you want to do this?
Adam, go and bring us your husband. Okay, hello baby. We're in this together, okay? Can you hear me? Keep coming forward. Wait, stop. You okay, lean to your right. Keep walking down, keep walking to the left. Yes. You're almost here. Keep going. You are here. Wow, you did it.
I'm just so glad I didn't have to use my cane to do this.
And I am so glad no other man got you before me. Let me be your eyes.
We will never stop working to give you a network you can rely on, so you can enjoy life's special moments. MTN, everywhere you go.
In sport news, Wimbledon champion Angelique Kerber said the pain from an ankle injury was not an excuse after her shock first-round exit at the French Open. The German fifth seed lost 6-4, 6-2 to world number 18 Anastasia Potapova. The three-time Grand Slam champion said she did not have much expectation after pulling out of Madrid and Rome clay tournaments this month. Elsewhere, Spanish 19th seed Garbin Muguruza came from a set down to beat American Taylor Townsend 5-7, 6-2, 6-2. Muguruza was broken for a second time late in the first set by the world number 83, but breezed through to win the next two sets in the first main draw match on new Simone Mathieu court. The 2016 French Open champion will play Sweden's world number 172 Joanna Larsson in the second round. Russian Potapova, playing in her first French Open, faces Marketa Vondrousova of the Czech Republic next. Kerber, who was bidding for a career Grand Slam, had played only 3 matches in the current clay court season before coming to Roland Garros. The Toronto Raptors beat the Milwaukee Bucks 100-94 to seal a 4-2 series win and reach the first NBA Finals in their 24-year history. They will now face defending champions, the Golden State Warriors, in a series which starts in Toronto on Thursday. The Raptors are coached by Nick Nurse, who has extensive experience in the British Basketball League. Starman Kawhi Leonard scored 27 points and a career-best 17 rebounds to help the Canadian team make history. His side had lost the first 2 games of the best-of-7 series before recording 4 wins in a row. The Bucks started Saturday's game at Toronto's Scotiabank Arena strongly and led by 15 points at one stage in the third quarter before being pegged back. Maurizio Sarri faces an uncertain future as Chelsea manager, even if the much-aligned Italian leads his side to victory in the European League final against Arsenal. Sarri has endured a traumatic first season at Stamford Bridge, and he heads to Baku with little clarity over his prospects of staying in charge beyond Wednesday's final. Despite guiding Chelsea into next season's Champions League via a third-place finish in the Premier League and reaching 2 cup finals, there remains a sense Sarri is on borrowed time, whatever the result against Arsenal. The 60-year-old has been linked with a move to Juventus or Roma, with reports saying Chelsea will not block his return to Serie A. Even if Sarri does not join the Italian champions, he could still be sacked if Chelsea owner Roman Abramovich and his coterie of advisors feel the former Napoli boss is not the man to guide them through a turbulent period. With the damaging 2-window transfer ban looming, pending an appeal by Chelsea to the Court of Arbitration for Sports, and star winger Eden Hazard said to get his wish to join Real Madrid, the next year promises to be a challenging spell for any manager, let alone one with baggage Sarri has collected in his brief reign. FIFA, the international football governing body, has banned South Sudanese official Chabo Gog Elai for 10 years for corruption, the organization said on Friday. Alay was also fined 500,000 Swiss francs for having misappropriated funds from FIFA's grants to the South Sudanese Football Federation, of which he was president in 2014 and 2015. Alay was also found guilty of having offered gifts or benefits in violation of FIFA's Code of Ethics. Unai Emery's first season at Arsenal will be judged a success or failure depending on the outcome of a single game, the Europa League final against Chelsea. But the Spaniard has a habit of saving his best for Europe's second-tier competition. Emery won the Europa League 3 years in a row between 2014 and 2016 when at Sevilla, and will become the most decorated coach in the competition's history with another victory in Baku. However, it is not only a first European trophy for 25 years at stake for Arsenal, but also a much-needed return to the riches of the Champions League after a 2-season absence that will make or break the impression of Emery's debut campaign. Arsenal's preparations for the final have been dogged by off-field issues over the awarding of the final to Azerbaijan capital. Many fans have been priced out of making the near 5,000 mile, that's about 8,000 kilometer round trip, while Emery's team selection has also been affected, with midfielder Henrik Mkhitaryan deciding not to travel on safety ground due to political tensions between his native Armenia and Azerbaijan. However, Emery shrugged off suggestions Arsenal could even consider boycotting the match and is determined that those distractions do not impact on his side by the time kickoff comes on Wednesday. And that's it on sports, but just before we go on the news, let's look at the stories that made headlines once again. More accolades have continued to pour in for the Supreme Court following the landmark ruling on the All Progressives Congress APC in Zamfara State. The World Health Organization on Saturday warned that over 24 million Nigerians may suffer from various mental illnesses, a situation worsened by dismal number of health institutions and professionals. And we also told you that 3 Frenchmen have been sentenced to death by an Iraqi court after being found guilty of joining the Islamic State IS militant group. Well, that's the news, but remember that you can subscribe to our YouTube channel via Clearview TV, like us on Facebook via Clearview TV, Clearview Television Online, follow us on Twitter at Clearview Online, Instagram at Clearview TV_NG. You can also watch Clearview TV on Comsat with any free-to-air decoder. For details, contact your local installer. I am Nten Ekbang. Many thanks for watching.